Hello. How are all of you lovely, lovely, wonderful people? Come on, what is going on with my GPS? Today, I'd like to tell you all about this wonderful thing called how to empower and disempower people. Why am I eating a banana right now? Well, it'll all make sense about halfway through, I assure you. So, believe it or not, both empowering people and disempowering people, like to empower people and to disempower people, are both really important dynamics that we do all the time. And disempowerment is not always disempowering in the long term. Sometimes it's only disempowering in the short term. So keeping a zoomed out big picture on all your interactions is a really good idea, and it might seem a bit stressful in the beginning, but you get used to it and then it'll be second nature. So we'll start off with the basics. Oh my gosh, every time my beard, I forget about my beard. No, that's good enough. So, the banana. We'll come into it a bit later. So the first thing you can do is just words of encouragement, right? When you encourage someone, what you're doing, or disencouraging someone if you want to disempower them, what you're doing is you're taking their idea and reinforcing it or breaking it down. So we all know what that's like. Oh yeah, that's a great idea, you should do that. That's a terrible idea. Don't do that. These are believe it or not, these are what I would classify as empowering or disempowering speech patterns or something, I suppose. Now, before we go too far into why that is and all that sort of stuff, I think it's probably a good thing to discuss what empowerment is and disempowerment. And this is not where the banana comes in, but it will come in a little bit later. What empowerment is, in my definition of what empowerment's all about, is to give someone the mental or sometimes physical resources, but mainly the mental resources to achieve something. To disempower would be to take those away, or to create a barrier of entry of which the other person has to overcome in order to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. Right? So when you encourage someone, what you're doing is you're actually removing barriers from their mind so that they can move through life more effortlessly, or at least move through that experience more effortlessly, to achieve that goal more effortlessly, right? Because if they're in a situation where you have to offer them encouragement, then that usually means that they're doubting themselves in some way. So they need some clarification, some clarity to their life or their thoughts or whatever it is. And that's what you're giving to them by encouraging them or disencouraging them. Why would you disencourage someone? Well, that's kind of obvious why you would want to disempower some people in that sort of way. Imagine if you have a friend who has got a really stupid idea, like investing thousands of dollars in McDonald's French fries that haven't been cooked yet, thinking that that's going to be a great investment, that these 2019 frozen McDonald's French fries will be worth a packet. in another 20 years. You would say, no, Jim Bob Jimmy, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that. Bad Jim Bob Jimmy. Bad. That's a stupid idea. Don't do it. That is very much disempowering them and filling their mind with doubt and all this sort of stuff. So they're probably not going to do it if you say it forcefully enough, right? Don't invest your money in McDonald's French fries. So, over the train tracks. So that's that. And the next one is slightly more advanced. And when it comes to bananas, this has nothing to do with bananas. But what it does involve is creating a new idea that the person hasn't thought of, and then you're just planting that seed, or that seed. That seed may grow instantly, or it might take a couple of weeks, or it might just die. It depends on the person and how you've delivered your message to them. So it's a two-way street. It involves them listening well and taking you on board, and it involves you communicating your idea as well as you possibly can. So like a really good example that I like to use with this sort of specific topic is with employment. We've all had a friend, or we've been the friend, who hasn't got a job and needs one rather desperately. They need the money, they need to pay rent, they need to pay their phone bill, their car bill, whatever it might be. But they don't have employment, so they're kind of stuffed. And they're looking for work, and they're looking for weeks and weeks and weeks or months, and they just can't seem to find work anywhere. And they tell you, I've been looking for work for months and I just can't seem to find any work anywhere. Right? Now, and they've looked everywhere, can't find anything. They've applied for jobs, no one's calling them back. You know the story. So they, one empowering thing that you could potentially say to them is, have you considered X, Y, and Z jobs that I know you haven't got any experience with, but maybe it's a good idea, I reckon you could do it. There's two ideas that you're planting there. One is that to consider jobs that they haven't been applying for, and the other is that you believe in your heart that they are capable of that. Right? And from there, that'll get the ball rolling. Now, often they will come to you with opposition and say, but I have no experience in that, which you just said. I have no training, I have no this, I have no that. The next empowering thing that you're going to say is something along the lines of, but currently you're unemployed. If you applied for these jobs, you haven't lost anything but some time. You haven't lost anything but some time. If you get the job, you're now earning money that you didn't have before. If you like the job, that's amazing. If you don't like the job, then you can quit. And all that you've lost is some time, and you've gained some money and some experience in something that you've never done before for your own personal growth. Maybe not because you're ever going to do it again, but it's there up your sleeve in case it comes up in conversation or some shit, right? And the other thing is, if you get fired because you're no good at the job, well, you've still walked out with a bit of money in your pocket because they're going to pay you for your time, even if you're a trash worker. So, with all this in mind, these are this may, in the short term, disempower them for a second because they feel attacked and they feel like they can't trust you because you've just said all this stuff and that is contrary to their inner beliefs. But there's one more thing you can say to them. If they actually fight with you and they lack the social intelligence and situational intelligence to know that you mean them no harm, you are not saying this maliciously, you're doing this because you love them and care for them, then they're going to realize, that you're not against them, and they should calm down. If they don't, then well, that's actually their problem because you're just trying to help. But the last thing you can say to them is, honestly, I believe that you are valuing not getting rejected, you're not valuing the potential gains, which is money, experience, all that sort of stuff, not being bored, not being frustrated, not being depressed about not finding work, blah, blah, blah. Those gains are worth less than not being rejected, than not putting in the work, not doing this, not doing that. The reality is that the money is not worth it to them. It is not worth putting in that work and putting yourself out there and potentially getting rejected by employees. It's not. That's why they're not doing it. If it was of higher value, then you would definitely do it. For example, if you're in the middle of a very expensive business meeting where you have the potential to make millions, if not billions of dollars, and it would change your life forever and all of your friends' lives who matter to you and your family and get everyone out of debt and all this sort of stuff, and you can use that money to change 1 million lives, but then a bear comes running at you ready to attack. Guess which of those two things are going to be of higher value at that moment? I'd like to think that the bear is. I'd like to think that you would run and save your life. Okay, so this is an example of how we value things and how that affects our behavior. The final thing, which is the most advanced thing, and when it comes to bananas, this part doesn't quite have anything to do with bananas, but I assure you that by the end of this video, you will fully understand why the banana is so important to this video and its message. Now, the final thing is learning how to value or devalue other people, right? Or at least what they have to say or their presence or whatever. Imagine this, you're with your best friend and you're vibing, you're connecting, and it's that sort of moment where you both are talking and the words are just flowing out of your mouth, effortlessly. You're not trying, there's no struggle, there are no moments where you're sitting there trying to figure out what to say. It's just all there. It's just, words are just coming out, and you both feel amazing. You feel like you could talk forever. You feel like the only thing that will stop you is later engagements and potentially the need for sleep. You feel like nothing is off limits. There is nothing that you guys could not talk about, and you just feel great. You know those times, right? And so that's a very empowering way to be. The ability to have no barriers of entry, having no barriers between you and what you want to say. Insecurities, for example, are a really common barrier. You feel too insecure to speak your mind. You feel, fear is another one. You feel too afraid that the other person might react badly or something. And, the reality is that, in that sort of situation with your close friend who understands you and all that sort of stuff, and you're vibing, that's all dissolved and doesn't exist anymore. You just feel amazing and great. So, with all that in mind, that's by giving someone your complete and utter undivided attention, not playing on your phone, none of that, just not looking around the room like, oh, I wonder what Jerry's doing tomorrow. Fucking Bob, Jerry, whatever his name was. That's really disempowering. It makes the person feel like, oh, am I wasting my time? Should I even be here? Up come these barriers, and communication becomes more abrasive, more difficult, and there's just more resistance to it overall. So one of the biggest ways you can empower someone is by, making eye contact, by engaging with the other person, by maybe even asking them, is this what you mean? Do you mean blah, 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 blah? And then from there, they might say yes or no, or they'll clarify. But either way, they'll know that you are trying to make an effort to understand the other person, and they will feel empowered, and they'll feel great. Gosh darn it, there's something stuck in my throat. To disempower someone, you do the exact opposite. You look the other way, you play on your phone, you just go, yeah, oh yeah, that sounds so interesting, and they'll feel like shutting up, right? Now, or they'll say something and you'll be like, oh, I guess that's true, yeah. You know what I mean? So, that's a good way to disempower someone. Now, why would you want to disempower someone? Well, this is actually the classic example, in case you haven't picked up, of what to do with a bully. Ignoring them is a really good way of dismantling and disempowering whatever it is that they have to say. Like, they call you a dickhead, you go, I guess that must be true, sure. And you just carry on with whatever it is that you're doing. You don't let it trigger you and pull your attention away like you're getting attacked by a bear, and you just carry on. The same way, if I went up to you and said, hey man, do you know I'm wearing socks right now? And you'd be like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, rightio. So, that's a really powerful way of disempowering someone. Another reason why you might want to disempower someone is because they're not leading you into a productive direction. I've had lots of times where I've been in group situations where we're trying to achieve a particular goal, and I can see that they're just not, their way is not going to work, and I've tried to voice my idea, which I know that would work, or maybe my friend's idea that might work, and I think that we should take on their method or technique or whatever, and this person just keeps dominating the conversation and it doesn't allow anyone else to enter the conversation or try something for themselves. Now, that's a good time where you can start disempowering them so that you can actually achieve the goal that you guys are setting out to do. Now, it's where, I mentioned before the word trigger. Trigger words are basically placing value on that word higher than the context of the conversation, or it's placing value higher than whatever it is that you're trying to do at that moment. It's not to say that it's not unconscious, and that it's not. I'm not saying that you kind of can't help it there in the moment. But there are things you can do to shift your patterns and shift all that sort of stuff. It's a bit beyond the scope of this particular video, but if you want to get through that, it has a lot to do with bananas, but I can't go into it right now. So, finally, what has it got to do with bananas, Chris? Why the hell are you eating this banana? Well, this banana, believe it or not, I'm using it as a tool. Not only as fuel for my body, but as a tool, so that I can empower you, the viewer. This banana, if it's done its job, it has hooked you, and you have asked, what is with the banana? What has this got to do with empowerment? You've reached the end, and you're like, anyway. The point is that I want to empower you with information. I want to empower you with the knowledge and the wisdom that I've learned. There's a very, very simple thing that I've taught to you guys just now. Really, really simple, but maybe you haven't thought of it like this. Maybe it's something you already knew about and that you already implement in the way that I described. Whatever it may be, I was hoping that by referencing the banana, you would make it to the end of the video, and that I have then empowered you using it. It's a bit sneaky, but I hope it worked. Banana goo. Delish. So anyway, that's all I have to say today. I hope that this has made some sense, and that if you've got any questions or comments, do let me know, because I am fascinated by what other people think, and it helps my mind expand as well and see new horizons and new paradigms and perspectives. So anyway, have a great day. This has been the shortest video version of this video that I've made. The other ones have all been up at half an hour, and this is at 22, nearly 23 minutes, so I did alright. Have a great day, guys, and I hope I get to catch up with you soon, guys, because I love you all.